Since I won that fight, he's gone completely quiet, and he'll continue to go completely quiet about me until he retires, because there's no way on earth that he's going to fight me. Not a chance. I will retire Jon Jones without even fighting him.
Yeah, this is how I'm starting this deeper dive. Jon Jones retired as soon as the challenge arrived. He didn't get beaten, he didn't lose his belt. He just walked away right when the storm was about to reach him. And that storm's name was Tom Aspinall.
Dana White is willing to make this happen. Tom Aspinall is willing to make this happen. This ain't some promoter stopping this. This is the actual fighter who is universally recognized as one of, if not the greatest ever, that doesn't want to fight.
And that retirement lasted a grand total of 14 days. Just long enough to remove all responsibility of being champion, while still leaving the door open for handpicking opponents.
Did you just retire, Jon?
I sure did, Naomi.
But did you mean it?
I did at the time, but I do know that everyone loves a good comeback, right, guys?
Now, months later, Jones wants to crawl back for a White House card, but the damage is already done. The division has moved on, and the man he avoided has become the new face of heavyweight MMA.
Jon Jones wanted none of it. Look, there's nothing I could do about that. If he doesn't want it, there's nothing that I could do. I wanted to be the UFC heavyweight champion. I am the UFC heavyweight champion. Now the reign can begin properly.
At UFC 321, Tom Aspinall defends his undisputed title for the very first time. And across from him stands Ciryl Gane, the smoothest mover in heavyweight history, the technician who fights like a middleweight, and the only man left who can test Aspinall's composure.
Ciryl is a very decorated kickboxer. Cheering for you when you're Tom Aspinall. You beat 6 men all the same way, which is stand up and by knockout. Matchup-wise, an interesting match.
But this isn't just another title defense. It's the most important heavyweight fight since Jon Jones' return. Not because of the names on the poster, but because of what it represents. Two of the most athletic big men to ever enter the octagon. Young, fast, technical, and modern. No brawlers, no one-punch cliches. This is what the new era of heavyweight MMA looks like.
Ciryl Gane is the same as Tom Aspinall in terms of athletic ability. When I say that Tom Aspinall is a heavyweight George St. Pierre, that kind of goes to Ciryl Gane as well.
Both men have the same mission, both for opposite reasons. For Aspinall, this fight is about legitimacy, proving that he's been the real champion for a while now. And for Gane, it's redemption. He's had 2 chances at gold and failed both, but he's still the cleanest striker in the division, still the man everyone fears when the fight stays standing.
Ciryl Gane's lost 2 title shots, and I want to give him his 3rd title shot loss and get him out of there.
This is Europe's heavyweight super fights. England versus France, power versus precision, pressure versus poise. It's a matchup that feels like it should have happened years ago, yet somehow came at the perfect time, because now there's something real on the line. Not just a title, but an era. Tom Aspinall represents the future that Jon Jones ran from. Ciryl Gane represents the one puzzle he never got to solve. And at UFC 321, those 2 paths finally collide. It's about legitimacy, legacy, and the ghost of the man who refused to face him.
Thank you to the fighting business. Absolutely amazing.
One of my favorite new channels going right now.
When Jon Jones beat Ciryl Gane back in 2023, it looked like the start of a new empire. He submitted Gane in minutes, called himself the greatest ever, and promised to dominate the division. But the promise never became a reality. Jones got injured, delayed, and eventually disappeared. He left the division frozen until Tom Aspinall burst through the door. Aspinall's rise was violent, so violent it felt scripted. By the way, if you're wondering why this setup looks a little bit different, yeah, I'm traveling for a few months, but don't get me wrong, I didn't forget to pack my Yubuko tees. I'm just throwing it out there, but if you do want to support me, support the channel, support the videos I produce, cop yourself some Yubuko tees using code TFB for 5% off. Anyways, back to Aspinall. He knocked out Sergey Pavlovich in 69 seconds, then demolished Curtis Blades even faster. His speed, his accuracy, his calmness under chaos, everything about him looked inevitable. The fans wanted the showdown. Aspinall versus Jones, the new blood against the legend.
Got the next question.
Knock it off.
But instead, Jones vacated the belt, called it a career, and left the sport.
Did Jon Jones retire because he thought that he was going to lose to Tom Aspinall?
The constant presence calling people out. I would have beaten Daniel Cormier at heavyweight. Yo, I'm 5 years retired. It just opens the conversation to where if Most believe that if Stipe was standing across there, he'd probably do it.
That's why fans hate it, because it wasn't closure. It was cowardice. Jones retired not as a champion, but as a man unwilling to risk the truth of what might happen against Aspinall. And when the UFC upgraded Tom from interim to undisputed, nobody complained, because deep down, everyone knew. He earned it the hard way.
It happened over the weekend. Dana White says he's retired. You were the undisputed champion. How are you feeling a few days after?
Yeah, to be honest, I always saw myself as a champion anyway. I think the whole Jon Jones thing was a bit weird. But luckily now that is in the past and we can move on, which is good.
Now, UFC 321 is his first true defense, and the opponent across from him, Ciryl Gane, is both the best and worst matchup possible. On paper, Gane doesn't really deserve this shot. His last fight, a razor-thin decision victory over Alexander Volkov, could have easily went the other way. It was the kind of fight where the crowd didn't even cheer at the end. They were confused, waiting for the scorecards. Gane looked hesitant, too careful, almost like he was fighting not to lose. But in this division, that's sometimes all it takes to get another title shot. Still, Gane is not just a random opponent. He's a former interim champion himself. He's fought for gold twice, and while both of those attempts against Ngannou and Jones ended in defeat, his skill set remains unlike anyone else in the division. At 6'4", around 245 pounds, Gane moves like a middleweight. He's light on his feet, precise with his jab, and has this almost musical rhythm to his striking. He's not a knockout artist, but he breaks opponents down slowly, making them miss, making them doubt. And that's what makes this fight tricky for Aspinall. Because at 6'5" and around 255 pounds, Tom is a physical nightmare. Fast, explosive, powerful, and balanced. But he's never faced someone who moves like Gane.
Ciryl Gane is somebody that's a big heavyweight, that's very agile. I don't think Tom Aspinall gets rid of him right away like he has with other people.
Tom's movement, his boxing, and the speed and his power is, hey, listen, I can't, it's very, very difficult to doubt this man anymore.
Sergey Pavlovich came forward like a freight train. Curtis Blades wanted to wrestle, but Gane dances. He makes you chase him, then punishes you for it. He's the kind of fighter who can make an entire round disappear without really landing anything, just through movement and control of space. But that's also where his weakness live. When Gane gets pressured, when he can't breathe and can't move, his entire game collapses. We saw it against Ngannou, a striker with zero wrestling background out-grappled him for 3 rounds. We saw it against Jon Jones, taken down in the opening seconds, submitted almost instantly. Gane's composure evaporates under real pressure. He's brilliant when he dictates the fight, but when the fight dictates him, he breaks. And that's where Tom Aspinall thrives. Tom doesn't rush, he doesn't overcommit, he walks you down, calculates every step, and when he decides to go, it's like a trap snapping shut.
He might be the fastest heavyweight in the history of the sport. I don't think anybody moves like that guy does. At a 250-plus pound frame, his movement's fucking extraordinary. And that's something you have to deal with. Like, that is a crazy ability.
His timing is surgical, his hands are crisp, fast, and precise, and he mixes in his wrestling so seamlessly that you never know what's coming next. His knockout of Pavlovich wasn't just power, it was awareness. His finish against Blades wasn't just revenge, it was control. Every performance he's had since returning from that knee injury has looked effortless, almost too calm for heavyweight MMA.
Big fan of like Tom Aspinall as well.
Oh yeah.
You don't really see that anywhere, full stop, but definitely not in the heavyweight division.
No heavyweight moves like him.
No one moves like him.
He moves like a 185er.
It's crazy.
It's nuts.
With that kind of explosive and that power, it's crazy.
But all that calmness will be tested here, because Gane is built to frustrate him. If Gane can stay long, keep the fight at range, use his teeps, leg kicks, and lateral movement, he can make Aspinall chase. He can force Tom to miss, to second-guess his timing. And if that happens, it could drag Tom into a slower, more strategic fight, the kind that Gane wins. But the difference here is what happens when Aspinall does find his range, when Tom cuts the cage, when he closes the gap. That's where everything changes. Because once Gane gets touched clean, he doesn't have the kind of defensive instincts to recover. He doesn't shoot takedowns, he doesn't clinch, he backs up. And against someone like Aspinall, backing up is the worst thing you can do. That's what makes this fight so fascinating. It's not about who's more skilled, it's about who can make the other man play his game first. If Gane can make it a chess match, he's dangerous. But if Aspinall can turn it into a storm, it's over.
I think this fight's going to be better, and I think it's pretty rare that you see any guys of our size that move like we do. So I think this is really like the new age of the heavyweights, and people are really going to start to see the difference now between guys like us and guys 10 years ago.
And beyond all of that is the pressure. Because Tom isn't just fighting Gane, he's fighting the narrative. If Gane, the same guy Jon Jones humiliated in 2 minutes, somehow beats Aspinall, the story writes itself. Jones will laugh, the fans will say he was right, they'll say Tom never deserved the hype. But if Tom does what he's been doing, if he cuts through Gane with the same efficiency and control we've seen in every fight since his comeback, then this division finally moves forward. Then Jon Jones' shadow finally fades. Because at this point, nobody's questioning who the better fighter is. We're questioning who's brave enough to prove it. And that's why UFC 321 matters. Because Tom Aspinall isn't fighting to defend a title. He's fighting to claim an era.
Aspinall to me is no difference than an Owen St. Prude or Dominic Reyes or Anthony Smith, being like just another up-and-comer that's exciting right now. I just look at Tom as a very arrogant young man who hasn't proved much. He's using his mouth to even be mentioned in such a serious conversation.
This fight isn't about resume or rankings. It's about closure. Because when Jon Jones left, he didn't just vacate a belt. He left behind a question mark. And Tom Aspinall has been fighting ever since to turn that question mark into a period. If he beats Ciryl Gane and beats him convincingly, there will be no more debates, no more hypotheticals. The era of waiting for Jones will finally end. But if he loses, then the ghost returns, the narrative flips, and Jones wins again without even stepping foot inside the octagon. That's why UFC 321 matters. It's not about who has the belt, it's about who owns the era. And for Tom Aspinall, this is the night he either becomes the true heavyweight champion of the world or just another name buried in Jon Jones' shadow.
If you kick my ass in front of the whole world, I'm happy to put my hand out and go, listen, you're the better man. No problem. You took my dreams away from me, but at least I tried. But this ducking and diving is something that I don't really have respect for.